Welcome to episode number 68 of Utah Fanatics. I am here with my co-host Chris Kern, and we will be talking about a sour night of hoops that played out last night and previewing this weekend's big time slate of hoops. So welcome.
Yeah, a lot of fun action already this week. It's a lot to discuss. Some big
Yeah.
upsets, some big games, and definitely a lot. Some huge games this weekend as well. So I'm excited.
hmm So uh, let's dive into the Auburn Tennessee game from last night. Tennessee beat Auburn 92-84. Um, and I really liked how Doran Connect uh, performed for the Tennessee. He had a clutch 3-pointer to knot the game up at 66, uh, which happened under 10 minutes left in the game, and it was just a chaos game. It was back and forth, and it was a high level, uh, top notch game.
He's he's such a difference maker for them because they've had a lot of really good teams and they've played with a lot of the same toughness that we've seen from past Tennessee teams. Having a guy like Dalton Connect that can score, I think 39 points he had last night. He's had high 30s a few times this season. And these are some of the high scoring games I felt like past Tennessee teams haven't been able to win. But this team has been able to win them consistently.
Mhm.
The Days definitely still have some of the flaws, but that was just an exciting basketball game. So I think Auburn been very impressive this season as well. They've lost a few games maybe, but that was a high level basketball game between two really good basketball teams, and I think just a shot making in that game. You mentioned Connect, but from Auburn's side, Janai Bloom had another big game.
Mhm.
The guys around him, there's a little bit of inconsistency, but all in all, it was a great basketball game. But
What
Tennessee,
was
I would
the
say Tennessee had the best player on the floor, and that was kind of the difference.
I forget what was the shot percentage for Tennessee?
Pretty high. It's only 51, but I mean 51 is pretty crazy when you
hmm
also 53% from three, and a lot of that's Dalton Connect. But I think his ability kind of really opened things up for some other guys. But the free throws I think is a big storyline as well because the free throws came from the guard position. Connect had
hmm
12 and Ziegler shot 12. Connect missed a couple. Ziegler missed a few.
Yeah.
They got to the free throw line. I think that really opened things up. Because those were the two guys who really facilitated and were the focus point offensively. Allowed the other guys to make a couple shots elsewhere, and I think that was the big focal point.
hmm Um, so moving on to a a really interesting high scoring matchup between Minnesota and number 13th ranked Illinois. Uh, I really like how Terrence Shannon and Marcus Domask played for Illinois. Domask had 22 and Terrence Shannon had 29. Um, and addition to Coleman Hawkins, who had 20 points. Um, I just felt like Illinois had the juice of the whole game because, especially it being at home, in front of the home crowd, it was definitely in their hands to take the win. And I felt like Minnesota definitely handled themselves well, especially down the stretch. Um, but Illinois was just a better team, and I I gotta give a ton of credit to Minnesota because uh, they are playing extremely well lately, and they're going to be a problem in the Big Ten tournament. And I feel like they could definitely upset a team or two.
Definitely agree. You mentioned Illinois stars Shannon, Coleman Hawkins, and Marcus Domask. They were all huge. They all had 20 plus points. It's like huge performances for them. But yeah, definitely just the way they can really score the basketball. Their defense worries me a little bit, but they have
Mhm.
the stars and playmakers make big shots down the stretch, and you kind of mentioned that. They're really impressive, making the plays to win this game. But I liked how you mentioned from Minnesota's perspective, Dawson Garcia, he had 29 points, I think. 29 points. He made a lot of
Yeah.
shots, really opened things up. Christie also had 20, 23. Elijah Hawkins had a double double. He had 12 assists, so like he did a great job
Mhm.
facilitating. And I think from their perspective, you mentioned like in a big tournament perspective, that's kind of where they're at because they're not quite an NCAA tournament team, but they're kind of close. They like their team who could get in, but we'll see. Like from their perspective, it's like they're dangerous because they don't really have anything to lose per se in a Big Ten tournament scenario, and like they can definitely win a couple games because they have the star power. And some of these other Big Ten teams don't necessarily have as much star power as them. So I'm really excited to see how they perform in a tournament scenario where they're just letting it fly, playing loose, and trying to get big wins. Pressure's definitely still there, so it'll be interesting. But definitely, that was just an exciting basketball game. We only got saw some clips, but really excited.
Mhm.
And from Minnesota's perspective, they head home. Penn State, that should be a win. They host Indiana as well, and then at Northwestern. So they have a chance to get a few wins, but coming off two tough road losses for them, they got blown out at Nebraska. At Illinois, they really battled, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a win. So who knows what'll come? But they got a chance to end the season strong and really push towards 20 wins, which is a big up for them, I think, compared to recent years.
I'm just reading this. Minnesota actually shot 61% from the field last night, which is a really great number, and I feel like having that type of performance every game will definitely make noise in the conference tournament and maybe in the real tournament. But I just like the way they are playing and handling their their games, and I think the coaching part of that team is really doing well, and I just feel like this Gophers team has 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 no limits, and they can definitely uh, be a problem in the league.
Definitely. Yeah, you mentioned they also went 14 for 20 for 70% from 3-point range. So, like they
Hmm.
gave it their best shot. They played probably their best offensive game of the season. And from Illinois' perspective, they're able to still get a big win. So being able to withstand an insane shooting performance from Minnesota, it gives props to just the talent and the job Illinois has done this season. But yeah, just a lot of talented basketball players in that game, and super excited to see how both finish the season. Different goals, different spots where teams are at. Because Illinois is really shaping up for a big NCAA tournament win. But props to Minnesota for really going in there. Offensively, they gave their best shot. At least defensively, I mean, it's always tough. That's just a tough Illinois team.
Hmm.
But props to Minnesota for really seeing. Maybe that'll be the confidence they need to end the season strong. Get a couple wins, head into the Big Ten tournament, see what happens.
I know you and me will be definitely doing an episode sometime during the conference tournament
But
games. Whenever we get the chance to get a free time during that week. I know Chris is covering the Big 12 tournament, and I know he's going to be busy, but uh, we still have a ton of basketball left before it all comes to start. So let's move on to the Virginia Boston College game. Um, I watched the whole game last night. Um, and I just really loved how Reese Beekman uh, performed for Virginia. He had 18 points and 8 assists. Um, Boston College definitely made things tight down the stretch. it felt like it was tight the whole game. And Quentin Post for Boston College was amazing for them, despite the loss. But I just felt like Isaac McKinley, Jacob Groves, and Ryan Dunn were the three best players out there on the court last night for Virginia.
Definitely. I felt like the starters really produced, and that was a big win for them because they're still on the bubble trying to fight for an NCAA tournament bid. They just got to keep winning games that they should, and you can't afford a bad loss. And Boston
They have
College would have been a bad loss, so that's a big win for Virginia.
Virginia has Duke on Saturday.
That's a big one. That's a chance to really solidify a spot.
Yeah,
Um, if you lose that game, you're going to be really nervous heading into Selection Sunday, no matter what happens in the ACC tournament. But yeah, that's a winnable game for them because the Duke's kind of been up and down a little bit. And I think Virginia, how did that? They beat them already, or am I wrong? They have not played actually. I'm misremembering, I think, but it's a very winnable game against Duke.
So one last point. Boston College only shot 41% from the field and made only 5 of 22 3-point tries.
Virginia defense always does a great job. So not surprised by that at all. Always one of the best defenses in the country. So
yeah. So let's move on. Do you have anything else to say about last night's games?
not too much. Last night's weather. I'm trying to because I've been at games, so I'm trying to remember what games were last night. But we could talk about when the Nevada game.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember. That wasn't last night. Was that Tuesday? I'm just getting all mixed up. There's a lot of big Mountain West games, and we texted about. But Jared Lucas in that half,
Yeah.
it was half quarter to beat Colorado State. Huge game for NCAA tournament implications, and it was just a fun basketball game between two really good teams too. I wanted to shout out Jared Lucas in Nevada for getting a huge win for their NCAA tournament chances.
Yeah, that was a really big game. He had 23 points. And Hunter McIntosh was unbelievable for them also. And I just feel like this team is in a great position to absolutely make noise, especially in the coming days during the conference tournament. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make it all the way to the championship game on championship day for their tournament. I just feel like both teams really play well. Offensively, they make good smart plays and they get to the basket fast, and the pace of both teams is really great. And I love just watching these two compete, and I'm really hoping these two teams will play a rematch in the conference championship game.
I would love it. There's so many good teams in the Mountain West. The way standings are shaping up. Colorado State struggled a little bit. Luckily for them, they were so good now out of conference, so they should be NCAA tournament team. But 8-8 in Mountain West play is not great. A very good record, but because they've really struggled away from home, but they have two winnable games in the season. Take care of business, and I'm excited for the Mountain West tournament. That's definitely going to be one we have to discuss. So many good games, and I would love all 6 of the tournament teams in this conference, if you want to call them, per se.
What day does the Mountain West Conference tournament start?
Don't know off the top of my head. It's the week all the big ones are. So probably the
12th.
Tuesday. Yeah, the Tuesday. How many teams? There's probably the Wednesday it starts. Whatever that 14th or 12th. I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to look
I think I think the Sun Belt tournament starts up the tournament marathon.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mountain West is in with the big tournaments, the later.
and the the Patriot League and Horizon League is with the Sun Belt. So
Yeah, there's a couple more,
yeah,
but yeah, that'll
um,
be a fun ones.
yeah, definitely. So before our bets, let's dive into this weekend's biggest games. First up, we have a SEC showdown between number 24 ranked Florida and number 18 ranked South Carolina. What's your perspective on this one?
I'm just really looking. I was impressed with how South Carolina has kind of bounced back. So they lost the home game against LSU, a tough one. They got blown out at Auburn. They lost by 40 at Auburn, and then they come home and lose to Bad's relative, but not a tournament caliber LSU team. But they haven't played up to it this season. So that was tough losses for them, but they've rebounded. They won at Ole Miss by double figures, and then they won at A&M last night by 2 points. So they bounced back in a big way. Kudos to them for doing that. And from Florida's perspective, they've been playing pretty good basketball recently. Um, Only losses in the past 10, they've lost at A&M by a point and at Bama by 5. They beat Auburn in that stretch. They beat Kentucky in
Mm-hmm.
Rupp Arena a month ago. So like they've been killing it. And I think this is the big opportunity for both teams to kind of the big win, kind of head into the final week of the regular season. Because I think both teams have been playing good basketball for the most part. They've shown what they're capable of, but I think marquee win or two give them a little more confidence heading into postseason play. The SEC
Mm-hmm.
tournament's going to be all over the place. Getting that double bye so big for these teams, and I think a win here would go big way for both in regards to those teams. But I need to double check. Yeah, both teams right in the thick things for a double
I know,
bye. So it's big opportunity there.
I know. Uh, Zachary Davis and Mitchell Johnson are the two biggest names on this roster for the Gamecocks.
Definitely,
Um,
they've been stars this season.
yeah, I'm really interested to see how they perform once the conference tournament gets going.
Definitely.
I think they're a team that could go all the way to the championship game.
They it depends how the bracket shapes up, but I
Yeah.
guess I don't know if I trust them against. I like how Tennessee and Bama are playing ahead of those two.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky's been so up and down. I'd probably take Auburn over them too, but definitely capable of beating those teams.
Mm-hmm. So next up we have your game, Kansas and Baylor.
It's a big one for both teams. Chance
Yeah.
to get some confidence. Both teams have struggled a little bit recently. So it's really they've got to find a way to win these games.
Mm-hmm.
Get some wins, get some confidence heading into postseason play. The both teams are super talented. They have the pieces to make a deep run in NCAA tournament. But I think both teams have been very flawed in some different ways, especially on the offensive end a little bit, some struggles, lack of depth for Kansas, some other issues for Baylor. I don't know if their depth is quite where they necessarily want it to be. So I'm really interested to see how they kind of mix the pieces together. Um, but it's going to be a big game. Kansas beat Baylor in Allen Fieldhouse a while back. They handled the game. It got close at the end, but Kansas won pretty handedly in Allen Fieldhouse. They only won by 3 points, but it was
Mm-hmm.
never really in doubt. Um, like they made a run late, whatever. It was competitive at the end, but super. It'll be a different type of game here because Baylor's coming off a tough. They beat somebody. They beat TCU a couple, probably Monday or Tuesday. But
Mm-hmm.
they're coming off a brutal loss last weekend at home against Houston in the game that went to overtime. That was just a huge high energy game. The way it played out, they had a huge comeback and
Mm-hmm.
weren't able and lost a tough one in overtime after a missed free throw in regulation. So I think Baylor's really going to bring the energy, and I think Kansas is going to have a tough time matching that. We'll see kind of how that game plays out, but it's just a great opportunity for both teams to get a huge elite win late in the
Yeah.
season. 'Cause it's all about getting confident in March, and I think there's no better way to start March than
Hmm.
a big win against a top 10-ish 10 team. I'll say for both of them.
And I know you'll be in person at the Big 12 tournament to watch these two compete. And uh, I mean, if they get to play each other in the first round, that would be really fun to watch.
It would be a very crazy type game. I assume one of them, at least one of them, will get a double bye.
Hmm.
I would assume, but I mean, Kansas lose this game, they're in jeopardy of falling out of the double bye scenario, which it's going to be chaos. I don't even want to predict how these tiebreakers are going to go, so I'm just not even going to
Hmm.
comment too much on who's going to get the third or fourth seed. Like 3, 9, and 6 teams got like 14, 8, and 7. It's just all jumbled, and it's gonna be the Big 12 tournament's gonna be crazy. However the bracket shapes up, there's gonna be great matchups every single game, probably most likely.
Hmm.
Besides a couple teams at the bottom who have struggled, but overall, 1 through 12, they've been great basketball to see how that tournament goes.
So next up we have Virginia at Duke. Uh, I think this game is a really intriguing game. I think Virginia has the talent and the strength of handling business, especially being uh, in Durham at Duke. I feel like Reese Beekman is going to have uh, a big role in this game, and the consistency of Virginia's shooting is it hasn't been a a plus, but it's been around there. But I just I'm interested to see how they can handle them coming off a win against Boston College, and uh, I know I won't be able to watch this game because I'll be at Princeton, but I'll try my hardest to rewatch it and see how Kai Filipowski handles their defense, and I'm just really interested in it.
I am too. I'm really interested to see kind of what they do defensively because Virginia's gonna have a great game plan. You got Filipowski, he's been their best player, but I think the emergence of Jared McCain and some of the other guards have been up and down. But I think that Malcolm Mitchell's been getting better.
Mhm.
So I don't know if Virginia quite has eyes needed to kind of match some of the physicality and on the perimeter and like the way they go inside a little bit on some of these cuts. And thanks for Mitchell, but really interested to see what they come up with as they know how big of an opportunity this is. And you mentioned Reese Beekman. I think it's going to be on a lot on his shoulders, especially on the offensive end of the floor. I think they need him to put up. I think he had like 18 and 8 last game. They're going to need something like that at least and have a chance. So I'm really, really interested to see kind of how he performs and a big opportunity for him. Big reason I think he came back to college was so he can improve in some of these scenarios, kind of show he can be one playmaker for his team on both sides of the floor, and no better way to showcase that in front of NBA scouts than in a big marquee matchup against on the road too.
Mhm. So we have three more. The next one is 16 and 12 Villanova against 18 and 10 Providence. Um, this one is going to be a pretty good matchup, especially it being at Providence with a great crowd. Um, and I think that Villanova is on the edge of the bubble. And I feel like if they win this game, they have the opportunity to uh, have their eyes looking into the big dance. Um, and I just don't know like how their resume is going to look like when the committee sees it, and if they choose them to be in in the conversation of being in the tournament, but I'm just taking it one game at a time, and I feel like Villanova, having the strength of Justin Moore, Eric Dixon, TJ Mama, Brennan Housen, all of them have been crucial to this lineup, and it's just going to be a really big game for them, and I think it's a must-win scenario for them.
I agree. They need this win. It's a big opportunity to be a good Providence team. Another team kind of on the bubble. I think Providence is a little bit better shape, but not. I mean, this is a big opportunity, I think, for Villanova. You touched on it. You got the star players. I think they've been gelling a little bit, playing some good basketball, but they've been a little shaky even as of late. So big opportunity for them. And a couple wins away from really tipping the scales in their favor for an NCAA tournament, but they're 1 or 2 losses from really putting themselves on the wrong side of the bubble very quickly. Because it's a very fluid situation, and you got into regular season strong, I think, for them to have any confidence heading into the Big East.
So we have two more. Marquette at Creighton. What do you think about this one?
It's so hard what to think about Creighton ever because they're never consistent. Um, like a lot of teams are inconsistent, but for them especially, they're all over the place. Because they beat UConn by like didn't they blow them out last week? I think they beat them by a lot. I know they beat them. I'm pretty sure they beat them by like 15. And then they come and lose at St. John's, and it's just a really disappointing game later. They've just been up and down like that. Um, and now at home, they got another chance to show up against a dominant Marquette team, a team that's a national title contender. And I think they have a chance to win this game. But I think offensively, they're going to have to really rely on. They get a little more help. In the loss to St. John's, Trey Alexander had like half the team's points when I was watching. He had like 30, and they were still down like 70 to 60. It was really tough to watch. He didn't have any consistent help. Baylor Scheinman, Kalkbrenner, some other guys. Ashworth wasn't great, and they just got to get more consistent production from some guys. I think for them to be great basketball team, and I think they definitely can be, and they have been for a lot of season. But some of their tough losses, I think, have been because of just some really bad performances from some key players. So I think those key guys are really gonna have to step up. And I think a big opportunity against Marquette. All these wins matter for seeding, huge seeding implications, huge win for confidence, and it's always good to beat a conference rival, especially when they're high ranked at home. So a big opportunity for Creighton, and I think they have a really good chance to get it done.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic high level game. And uh, I'm really interested to see how Marquette can scramble through Kalkbrenner and the names that you mentioned earlier. I just feel like this game could go either way, and it's just the matter of turnovers they limit for each team, and it's going to be a showdown at Creighton. And lastly, we have Tennessee battling Alabama. This game is going to be absolutely insanely good. There's just a ton of talent on both sides. I think Tennessee has the edge, but Alabama is that close to actually turning the page around and making it a tight game. And I just feel like the way Tennessee has been playing, it's hard it's hard not to say that they're going to win this game, but I feel like Alabama has the talent of definitely making this game tight.
Definitely, yeah. We talked about Tennessee and Connect and kind of how they operate a little bit, but yeah, Alabama has a lot of talent. Mark Sears, one of the best, maybe the best point guard in the country. I mean, you got
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Cole, you got other guys, but Mark Sears has been one of the best. He's going to be an All-American. I think he's kind of dominated in conference play, really elevated this team to another level. and another opportunity for him to do that against great guards of Tennessee. Just super excited to see how these two teams play. The best two teams in the SEC this season. Chance to really put themselves in a great spot in an SEC championship. Chance to win it outright for both for the winner, and it doesn't get much better than this. Late in the season, top 10 matchup between two teams playing as good as anybody in the country. I had to watch one.
Yeah, all these games that we talked about is going to be a, a fun slate to watch this Saturday. And uh, we are now moving into the best of the episode segment. I did the picking of the games for this episode, so I'll just read them off, and then you can make your picks, Chris. So we have Illinois against Wisconsin, Florida against South Carolina, Tennessee against Baylor, Gonzaga against St. Mary's, Kansas against Baylor.
Sweet. Did you text those in order of who was the home team?
I don't think I did.
Yeah. I just want to double check home and
Actually,
teams. I
actually,
think
I
you
might have.
think you did. I just want to double check because those in these games, home we all know home court advantage is such.
Yeah.
So start Illinois, Wisconsin. I'm gonna pick Illinois, even though they're the road team. I think there's a lot of signs pointing towards maybe a bounce back game for Wisconsin. They've struggled a little bit recently,
Mhm.
but I just like the way Tennessee's play. I mean, yeah, sorry, Illinois is playing the star power we've talked about. I'm going Illinois in that one. And then Florida versus South Carolina. I'll go with South Carolina as well. We talked about Michi Johnson already. Just I think South Carolina gets it done, and that's going to be a tough game. Tennessee versus Alabama. I'm going to go with Alabama to take care of business. Gonzaga. I'm going to take St. Mary's over Gonzaga. That's a big game as well. Huge game.
Mhm.
Gonzaga still on the bubble. A chance to really get off of that with a win here, but I think a loss here. I think they're still safe, but I think a little bit of stress for them if they lose this game, but which I think they will at St. Mary's. St. Mary's looking to go undefeated in West Coast play. Big chance to do that. And then Kansas versus Baylor. I'm going to pick Baylor. I think Baylor at home will be able to beat the Jayhawks.
So I'm gonna pick Illinois against Wisconsin. Um, I'm gonna pick 1 second. I'm gonna go with um I'm gonna go with South Carolina against Florida. Uh and uh Tennessee, Bama. I'm gonna go with Tennessee. Gonzaga against St. Mary's. I'm gonna pick the Zags. And Kansas against Baylor. I'm gonna pick I'm gonna go with Baylor.
Okay, so we disagree on two. So we'll
Yeah,
see the Bama Tennessee game and St. Mary's Gonzaga. That'll
yeah,
be those are two great games. Those are two late ones. So be excited to see how those turn out.
yeah, definitely. I'll definitely be in touch with you during those games.
What time's Princeton Saturday?
Uh it's a double header.
Oh,
So
nice.
the
Oh,
women play first and then the men.
nice. Oh,
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Especially Saturday night is Princeton Cornell.
oh, that's
Are you gonna try to tune into that one?
maybe I'm gonna head to. We'll see what other games are on. I gotta figure out my schedule, but if I'm
Mhm.
back in time, I'll definitely probably try and watch.
Yeah, it should be a really fun ride this weekend. Before the real games start in the next week or two with the conference tournaments
Gonna
and
be gonna be insane.
and I'm I'm really looking forward to it. Uh, I'm going to try to watch as much conference tournament games as I can. I know that I I'll be working during the I think the second day of the tournament conference tournament games, but I'll definitely be locked into every game as I can, and I'm sure you will.
Definitely, we will be. I'm excited.
So this has been episode number 68 of Super Talk Fanatics. Enjoy all the action, and we'll talk soon.